Hello friends, I'm back with a brand new session of chemistry for you. This time it's organic chemistry. Okay, so today we are going to start a new chapter, that is organic chemistry. Now this is a slightly longer chapter and it is divided into first general organic chemistry, which includes introduction of various concepts of organic chemistry like the naming of organic compounds, how to represent organic compounds, yes, and the second part of the chapter is the actual methods of preparation and the reactions of organic compounds, that is reactions for alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, alcohols and carboxylic acid. So it's like actually 5 chapters all put in one. Okay, so now we'll start with the first part, that is the general organic chemistry. Now when you hear the word organic, what comes to your mind? What is the dictionary meaning of word organic? Organic means pertaining to life. Yes, it could be plant life or animal life. Yes, so when little chemistry was known, the compounds such as starch or the sugar, acetic acid, proteins, etc., all these were thought to be obtained only from plants and animals, that is from the living matter. It could be plants as well as the animals. So these compounds were classified as organic compounds and the study of these compounds was known as organic chemistry. Whereas the other compounds like you say sodium chloride or potassium nitrate, now these were derived from minerals, yes, that is the non-living matter. So they were termed as inorganic and their study was termed as inorganic chemistry. So earlier it was thought that all these organic compounds could be obtained only from plants and animals. That is, there was a vital force present in the plants and animals which was responsible for the production of these organic compounds, which resulted in what is called as the vital force theory. So according to this theory, organic compounds could not be synthesized in the laboratory, means could not be produced in the laboratory. They could only be obtained from the plants and animals. But later scientists like Wohler, he was the first one to produce urea in the laboratory. Then scientists like Kolbe, he produced acetic acid in the laboratory. So they proved the vital force theory wrong and they showed that organic compounds could be synthesized in the laboratory as well. So you have basically the branch of chemistry which is dealing with all carbon compounds is organic chemistry. Okay, but if you have to define organic chemistry, the branch of chemistry which deals with all carbon containing compounds other than, now just pay attention to the definition, other than oxides, carbonates, bicarbonates, metallic carbides and metallic cyanides is known as organic chemistry. Now why do we say other than oxides? Because carbon dioxide also has carbon in it, but it is inorganic. Then carbonates and bicarbonates, yes, that is say sodium carbonate Na2CO3 or sodium bicarbonate NaHCO3, right. So carbonates and bicarbonates are also having the carbon component in it, but they are inorganic. Then metallic carbides, say aluminum carbide is Al4C3. So it is an inorganic compound though it is having carbon in it, yes, and metallic cyanides like sodium cyanide, potassium cyanide, KCN, right. So it also has carbon in it but it is inorganic. So all these are excluded. So basically the study of all carbon compounds is organic chemistry. Okay. Now we will have a look at the properties of organic and inorganic compounds. Now just have a look here. Now properties of organic and inorganic compounds. Now these are the different properties. Now we have to see with reference to both organic and inorganic. Now first property is presence of carbon. Now carbon is an essential element in organic compounds. Now without carbon there is no organic chemistry or no organic compound possible. So carbon has to be present in all organic compounds, whereas the carbon may or may not be present in inorganic compound. Yes, in inorganic compound carbon may or may not be present, okay, but in organic compound it has to be present. Next is solubility. Now all organic compounds are soluble in organic solvents. Organic solvents like say benzene, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride. Yes, we have seen this in chemical bonding also. So all organic compounds are soluble in organic solvents and insoluble in water, whereas inorganic will be soluble in water but insoluble in organic solvents. Okay. Then next is volatility. Now what do you mean by volatility? Its ability to evaporate. Yes, very good. Volatility means ability to evaporate. So all organic compounds are highly volatile, means they will evaporate easily. For example, if you see at home, you have the nail polish remover, yes, which is having acetone as the major component. Now if you leave that open, after some time the bottle will be empty. So all the organic compounds are highly volatile, whereas inorganic compounds are non-volatile because they will not evaporate easily. Then following volatility is only the melting and boiling point. Now because they are highly volatile, yes, means they evaporate easily. So naturally they have low melting and boiling points. Okay, they are having low melting and boiling points, that is organic, and inorganic generally will have high melting and boiling points. Okay. Next property is combustibility. Combustibility means ability to burn or catch fire. Now organic compounds are highly combustible. Yes, they will catch fire readily. So you say that they are highly flammable or they are highly inflammable. Now you have to understand flammable and inflammable both mean the same. It's like valuable and invaluable. Okay. So organic compounds are highly inflammable or they will readily catch fire, whereas inorganic compounds will not catch fire easily. Okay. Next is presence of bonds. Now all organic compounds, the bonding is always covalent. Yes. So all organic compounds will have covalent bonds in their structures, whereas inorganic may have both electrovalent as well as covalent. If you remember in chemical bonding, we have done examples of compounds which are ionic as well as covalent. So organic compounds will be only covalent, whereas inorganic can be both covalent as well as ionic. Okay. Conductivity, organic compounds, they will not conduct electricity, whereas inorganic can conduct electricity. Now here this is a new term, isomerism. Now we are going to discuss at length this later, but I'll just introduce this concept to you. Isomerism, they are isomers. Isomerism is a phenomenon, and isomers are organic compounds having the same molecular formula. Now you know what a molecular formula is, right? Molecular formula is the one which represents the actual number of atoms of each element present in one molecule of that substance, right? For example, molecular formula of say sodium carbonate is Na2CO3. So you know that there are 2 atoms of sodium, 1 of carbon, 3 of oxygen, right? So an isomer is an organic compound having the same molecular formula but different structural formula. Structural formula means the manner in which they are arranged. Okay, the manner in which they are arranged, that is different. So this phenomenon of isomerism is shown by all organic compounds, but it is not shown by inorganic compounds. Okay, we are going to discuss in detail what isomerism is later sections. Then reactions. Now you know these properties are similar to the properties of electrovalent and covalent compounds. So all organic compounds, since they are covalent in nature, they will undergo slow molecular reactions, and all inorganic compounds, since they are mostly ionic, they will undergo high speed ionic reactions. Now another new term, catenation, again very important. Yes. Now catenation is the self-linking property of carbon atoms. Yes, self-linking property of carbon atoms to form straight chains. Yes, to form straight chains means it will form carbon-carbon straight chains or branch chains or cyclic chains of different sizes. That is property called as catenation. Now this property is shown in by all organic compounds, but it is not shown by inorganic compounds. Now in inorganic compounds also slight catenation is shown by silicon, germanium, but it is very less. All carbon compounds will show this property of catenation. Okay, it is clear? Is it clear? So these are the properties of organic and inorganic compounds. Now what kind of a question you can expect on this? Nobody is going to ask you to list the properties of organic or inorganic compounds. The question generally asked is which of the following is not a property of organic compounds, or which of the following is a property of inorganic compounds. Okay, so in choose the correct option, this is generally asked. Later we will see in the question answer session. Now next is the unique nature of carbon. Okay. Now you know what is the atomic number of carbon, you remember? Yes, very good, 6. Yes, so its electronic configuration will be what? 2, 4. So it is having 4 electrons in the valence shell, right? Now because it is having 4 electrons in the valence shell, it will neither lose the 4 electrons nor gain 4 electrons. Instead, it mutually shares these 4 electrons with other carbon atoms, yes, to form 4 single covalent bonds. Yes, that is the reason why carbon exhibits tetravalency. Tetra means 4 and valency, you know what valency is. So, carbon exhibits tetravalency. That is because it is having 4 valence electrons. It will neither lose the 4 electrons nor gain 4 electrons. Instead, it mutually shares these 4 electrons with other atoms. It could be carbon atoms or other atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, to form 4 covalent bonds, right? Hence, we say that carbon exhibits tetravalency. Okay, clear? Now, next is carbon exhibits catenation. Now, just now we discussed what catenation is. So, you have to mention, now all these are asked in form of give reasons, okay. So, you have to first write the definition of catenation. So, catenation is the self-linking property of carbon atoms through covalent bonds is to form straight chains, branch chains and cyclic chains of different sizes. Now, the carbon-carbon bond strength means the strength of that carbon-carbon bond and the bond energy is very high. Now, you just try to understand this. Later in higher classes you have all these concepts of bond energy and factors, etc. But now you just have to understand that the bond strength and the bond energy for carbon-carbon bonds is very high and therefore carbon exhibits maximum catenation, okay, in comparison to the others like silicon or germanium. Now there is a third property of carbon, that is, just observe this, 90% of all known compounds are organic in nature, or you have a separate branch organic chemistry is formed for the study of carbon compounds. Okay, now you know that carbon is having atomic number 6, so electronic configuration is 2, 4. So because it is having 4 electrons or because it is tetravalent, it forms single, double and triple covalent bonds with other atoms in order to satisfy its valency, right. So it will share those 4 electrons with other atoms. Either they could be carbon atoms or other atoms, right, like oxygen or nitrogen. So it can form single covalent bonds, double covalent bonds or triple covalent bonds. So the 3 properties, that is catenation, this what we discussed, isomerism and tetravalency. Because of these 3 properties, millions of organic compounds can be formed. See, because of catenation you can have many compounds, there can be just carbon-carbon linkages formed, right. Then because of isomerism, same molecular formula but the arrangement is different. So many compounds are possible. So because of catenation, isomerism and tetravalency, millions of organic compounds are possible. And because there are millions of organic compounds, you require a separate branch of chemistry, that is organic chemistry, to study all these carbon compounds. Now here in 10th standard you are just having one chapter organic chemistry, but people do graduation, post graduation in just organic chemistry. Okay, so this for you is just the introduction of the concept. Okay, clear? So now we'll have a look at the next part. Okay, now we'll have a look at the questions related to what I just explained to you. So you can write down the first question. First question is define organic chemistry. Okay, so the branch of chemistry dealing with specific carbon compounds other than oxides, carbonates, bicarbonates, metallic carbides, metallic cyanides is called organic chemistry. Okay. Then next question is compare the properties of organic and inorganic compounds. Now you have to divide the page into 3 parts. First column will be the parameter, then second column is organic compounds and third column inorganic compounds. Okay. Now first is presence of carbon. So under organic, carbon is a necessary element in it. Under inorganic compounds, carbon is not an essential element in it. Then second is solubility in water and in organic solvents. In water, organic compounds insoluble, here they are soluble. Organic solvents, soluble in organic solvents like benzene, alcohol and chloroform. Generally do not dissolve in organic solvents. Okay. Then third is melting and boiling points. low MP and BP and easily decompose on heating, high MP and BP and usually do not decompose on heating. Okay. Fourth is combustibility, means ability to catch fire or burn easily. So organic compounds are inflammable, that is catch fire easily, and inorganic do not burn easily. Okay, now the next fifth property is presence of bonds. So organic will form covalent bonds, inorganic most of them form electrovalent or ionic bonds. Now in bracket you can write some form covalent also. Next, conductivity, they are non-conductors, non-electrolytes. Here they are good conductors, only those that form ionic bonds are good electrolytes. Then seventh property, isomerism. Now they show the phenomenon of isomerism. Now no such phenomenon is shown by inorganic compounds. Then next, state generally exists as gases, liquids or solids. Inorganic mostly as solids. Now this is not so very important point. Then volatility, highly volatile, non-volatile, and reactions, they undergo molecular reactions, are slow due to the presence of linkages. These reactions never proceed to completion. Reactions are fast if ionic and slow if covalent in nature. Now here one more property you add, that is catenation. Yes, you can add the 11th property as catenation here. Catenation maximum in organic compounds, catenation inorganic not exhibited. Okay, that will be our 11th property. Now next question, how this is asked, that is I have given here in form of question answer. Question 3, which of the following is not a characteristic of organic compounds? So your options are volatile, inflammable, low MPBP and electrolyte. So what is the correct answer? Answer you have to write. So not a characteristic of organic, answer is D, that is electrolyte. Okay, so you can write the answer D, electrolyte. Now we'll have a look at the next part. Okay, now question 4, which of the following is not a characteristic of inorganic compounds? So options are inflammable, soluble in water, high MPBP and ionic. So what will be the answer? Yes, very good, inflammable. Okay, so answer you write inflammable. Now next question 5 is justify the following or give reasons for the following. Now give 5 stars to all three, very important. First is carbon exhibits tetravalency. So first point is atomic number of carbon is 6, its electronic configuration is 2, 4. It has 4 electrons, it has 4 valence electrons. Since it can neither lose nor gain electrons to attain octet, it forms 4 covalent bonds by mutually sharing its 4 electrons with other atoms. This characteristic of carbon atom, by virtue of which it forms 4 covalent bonds, is called tetravalency of carbon. Hence carbon exhibits tetravalency. Okay, so this is just carbon, the 4 valence electrons and the 4 bonds. Next, second, carbon exhibits catenation. This is again important, give 5 stars. Definition is also important. Catenation implies the self-linking property of carbon atoms through covalent bonds to form straight chains, branch chains and cyclic chains of different sizes. Because of the great strength of the carbon-carbon bond, tetracovalency of carbon and high value of carbon-carbon bond energy, catenation is maximum in carbon. Okay, now these first 2 points are important. The third point is just for your extra information. If it is asked in form of give reasons, only if you write the first 2 points it is enough. Catenation and tetravalency also result in formation of single, double and triple bonds. Now this is carbon-carbon single bond, this is a double bond and this is a triple bond. And this is a straight chain, all single, this is a straight chain. Now this is a branch chain, you see there is a branch here. So this is called as a branch chain and this is a closed chain, closed cyclic structure. Okay, clear? So this part is just for your information, for your understanding. You need not write it in the answer, but you copy it in the notebook. Now third one, 90% of all known compounds are organic in nature or a separate branch organic chemistry is formed for the study of carbon compounds. The valency of carbon is 4, that is, it is tetravalent. In order to satisfy its valency, it forms single, double and triple covalent bonds by sharing 1, 2 or 3 pairs of electrons respectively between the two carbon atoms as well as with other atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, etc. This unique nature of carbon atoms, which includes, now these are keywords of your answer, tetravalency, catenation and leading to the formation of isomers, results in millions of organic compounds. So these have to be there in your answer, tetravalency, catenation and isomerism. Okay. Hence 90% of all known compounds are organic in nature, or a separate branch organic chemistry is formed for their study. Now either you will be asked this statement or this statement. Depending upon that, you write whichever is asked. Okay, is it clear? So give 5 stars to these 3, give reasons. They are very, very important. Okay, now we will have a look at the next part. Okay, now we will have a look at the next part, that is the classification of organic compounds. Now all organic compounds are broadly classified into aliphatic open chain compounds. Aliphatic means straight chain. Okay, aliphatic open chain compounds, that is the hydrocarbons. Now hydrocarbon means compounds containing only hydrogen and carbon. Okay, compounds containing only carbon and hydrogen are called as hydrocarbons. So they are divided into the hydrocarbons and the cyclic closed chain compounds. Aliphatic open chain compounds and cyclic closed chain compounds. Now we are going to discuss in detail about the aliphatic open chain compounds. Okay. Now these aliphatic open chain compounds, that is the hydrocarbons, are further divided into saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Now first you just understand the classification, then I will explain what each means. Okay. Saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Saturated hydrocarbons are alkanes. They are having the general formula CnH2n plus 2, very, very important. Unsaturated hydrocarbons are alkenes and alkynes. They have general formula CnH2n, CnH2n minus 2. Okay. Now in cyclic closed chain, you only are required to know this, that is homocyclic. Homo means always similar. So they will have only carbon atoms. So aromatic compounds like benzene, C6H6 is the molecular formula and this is the structural formula, how you represent benzene. It's a hexagon with alternate carbon hydrogen bonds. And heterocyclic, hetero means different. So apart from carbon, there could be either oxygen, nitrogen or sulfur in the structure. So example here, pyridine, this is again the molecular formula C6H5N and this is the structural formula. So it is having a nitrogen atom in the ring. So this is example of pyridine. Again it is an aromatic compound. So in cyclic only this much you are required to know. Now coming back to the aliphatic. Now aliphatic, that is the straight chain hydrocarbons, are divided, I said, are into saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Now let us understand first what is a saturated hydrocarbon. Now saturated hydrocarbon means when all the 4 valencies of carbon are satisfied by single covalent bonds. Okay. So there are 4 valencies of carbon. So in a saturated hydrocarbon there will be only single bonds in the structure. So a saturated hydrocarbon is the one in which all the 4 valencies of carbon are satisfied by single covalent bonds. Okay. So there will not be any double bond or triple bond in the structure. So this is our general formula, CnH2n plus 2. Okay, this you have to remember. Now once you know the general formula, if you substitute starting from n equal to 1, you will get the first member in this alkane family. So you put n equal to 1, so C1, 2 into 1, 1 plus 2, you will get CH4. So first member in the alkane family is methane. Next is n equal to 2, so you substitute here n equal to 2, so you will get C2H6, that is ethane. Then n equal to 3 is C3H8, is propane. So actually this molecular formula which you are getting, you don't have to by heart. You just have to remember this general formula and you substitute in that formula and you know what is the molecular formula. Okay, but what you are supposed to remember is When n equal to 1, that compound is methane. When it is 2, it is ethane. When it is 3, it is propane. This you are supposed to remember. Okay. Now next is n equal to 4. So similarly substitute here n equal to 4. So C4, 4 2s are 8 plus 2, 10. So C4H10 becomes butane. I hope you are understanding. This is a new concept. So I am going very slowly so that you are able to understand what I am explaining. Then n equal to 5, substitute n equal to 5. So C5, 5 2s are 10 plus 2, 12. So C5H12 is pentane. Now you have only the first 5 in the series prescribed in the syllabus. Okay. So this is the family of alkanes. Now coming to the unsaturated hydrocarbons. Now what do you mean by unsaturated hydrocarbon? Unsaturated means out of the 4 carbon atoms or out of the 4 valencies of carbon, at least 2 of the valencies are not satisfied by single covalent bond. So there could be a double bond in the structure. So C double bond, or there could be a triple bond in the structure. Okay. So when there is a double bond in the structure, it is called as alkene, and when there is a triple bond in the structure, it is called as alkynes. Okay. So now general formula of alkene is CnH2n, and general formula for alkynes is CnH2n minus 2. Now here you have to understand that because to form a double bond, minimum you will need 2 atoms, right? You can't form a double bond by just 1 carbon atom, right? It's not possible. So you need minimum 2 carbon atoms to form a double bond. So our family of alkenes will start with n equal to 2 and not n equal to 1. Okay, this you have to remember, because how you have methane, like that you will not have methane. So the first member in the family of alkenes will be n equal to 2. So substitute n equal to 2, C2, and 2 into 2, 4, C2H4, ethene. Okay, so ethene is the first member of the family of alkenes. Now similarly n equal to 3, so substitute C3, 3 2s are 6, so C3H6, propene. N equal to 4, C4H8, butene. N equal to 5, C5H10, pentene. Okay, so this is our family of alkenes. Again you have to know the till n equal to 5 only, till 5 carbon atoms. Okay. Now next is alkynes under unsaturated only. So here there will be a carbon-carbon triple bond in the structure. Okay. Now general formula for alkynes is what? CnH2n minus 2. Okay, this you have to remember. Okay, it's very, very important. Now again you need minimum 2 carbon atoms to form a triple bond. So there is no, methane is not possible. So our first member will start with n equal to 2. So substitute n equal to 2. So C2, and 2 2s are 4 minus 2, 2, right? So C2H2 becomes ethyne, our first member in family of alkynes. Okay. Then next n equal to 3. So C3, and 3 2s are 6 minus 2, 4. So C3H4, propyne. Similarly n equal to 4, C4H6, butyne. N equal to 5, C5H8, pentane. Okay, so this is our family of alkynes. Okay, is it clear? Now just see here, I have written here homologous series of alkanes. Okay, so a new term we are introducing called as homologous series. So what is this homologous series? Now homo means same and logos means the study. Okay, or so now this homologous series is a group of organic compounds. So this is a group of organic compounds having the similar structure and similar chemical properties, where the successive members show a regular structural pattern. Just understand the definition, where successive members are showing a regular structural pattern differing by a CH2 group. Now just try to understand what is the difference between methane and ethane. This is CH4 and this is C2H6. So two carbon atoms, here 1. So difference of 1 carbon, and C6 and 4. 6 minus 4, 2. So there is a difference of CH2 group. Now between these also there is a difference of CH2 group. So between the succeeding and the preceding there is a difference of CH2 group. So the definition says that a homologous series is a group of organic compounds having the similar structure and chemical properties, where the successive compounds show a regular structural pattern differing by a CH2 group. So everywhere they are differing by a CH2 group, and that CH2 group, if you calculate the molecular weight, carbon, you know, atomic weight is 12, hydrogen is 1, right? So CH2 will come to 14 AMU. So this is now called as the homologous series of alkanes. So this is called as the homologous series of alkanes. Now similarly, this is the homologous series for alkenes, okay, because here also you see there is a difference of CH2 group, there is a difference of a CH2 group, and similarly here this is called as the homologous series of alkynes, okay. Is it clear? So now we have understood how to write the molecular formula for these alkanes, alkenes and alkynes, okay. All what these compounds which we have written is the molecular formula, because I have given you that alkenes are containing a carbon-carbon double bond, but we have not shown the double bond. Why? Because all these are the molecular formula of the organic compounds. So how to represent them in the structural formula, or how to represent all these organic compounds in the structural formula, that we shall see in the next session. So till then you please go through this, whatever I have explained today, and go through that properly, so that when we continue our next session, you should be able to understand the what I will be explaining, okay. So till then, happy studying, stay safe and healthy in the house. Thank you.